Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to the Lord of the Rings adventure card game. So I decided, instead of just basically speculating, to do some actual research. And it turns out that this digital adventure card game is a slight variation on the Lord of the Rings living card game. The cards look a little bit different. Let's see if we can bring up a card. If anything, I would say these cards definitely feel like they are inspired by Hearthstone quite a bit, where the card games in the real world that you can buy have like the numbers on the side and just a little bit of different framework and border artwork. So I wouldn't be surprised if it also has slightly different abilities and just some changes here and there. So if you loved the living card game, playing this game would be supplemental to that. Now, you still run into the problem in that there's nobody online to play multiplayer with, so best case scenario is you would host your own multiplayer game and have a group of people that really loved the card game. There's quite a lot of expansions, though, of the actual living card game. I would say probably somewhere around at least 35 expansions, maybe even double that, some of which are single story campaign expansions, some of which are entire expansions. Definitely, one would assume way more than 100 cards. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if the actual living card game is approaching 1,000 cards. So this is a somewhat limited experience on that. But it's also different, so you can't just say forget this because it's just a copy of what has already existed. You can, however, say forget this because it's not being supported much and it's just been pretty much forgotten about. I also asked my resident Lord of the Rings nerd where in the timeline this plays, and this is just like before the events of even really The Hobbit, and these stories are really taking place in at least these first ones are taking place in The Hobbit. So we actually have not gotten to the actual Lord of the Rings story at all. So they're playing pretty fast and loose, it seems like, with just what they're labeling as Lord of the Rings. I'd say that's the best way to describe it. The other issue certainly is there's definitely some questions that I was having around like characters. I wish there was a way to bring up this map a little bit easier and better. You can see it for just a brief second when you load into this, but you can't hide this to show the map. But yeah, apparently some questions I had asked were like, how many wizards were there and were they human? The answer that I got on that, and I assume this is all true, is that the wizards are not human, were never human, and that there was about 12 of them at least. Golem apparently was of a species of the river folk that eventually all died out, and Golem's life was extended by having the ring in his presence, which is interesting. So he's a really, really old species of river folk that's kind of like a hobbit. Let's see. Was there anything else that I was really wondering about that I wanted to say I got the answers to? No, I guess that's pretty much it. There's definitely a lot of characters, to say the least, in this game, and if anything, even though the stories are going very long, it's not really doing the best of jobs uh, integrating as many characters as we've seen as far as hero classes. Whereas if you were writing a new story specifically for a video game, you would have been much better at introducing each of the heroes. Maybe you even would have had a flash forward or just a reference to a hall of heroes, like the story was being told as a historical record, so you could just mention every character and bring them to the forefront of the player's mind very early. I've also decided in the last recording not to just waste another 30 minutes trying to beat these quests a second time. It's all going to really come down to just how many fellowship points do we earn for beating the entirety of the campaign. If it's a large amount, then we're back on track to potentially unlocking all the cards. If it's a small amount, however, then we're going to run into a situation where there would just be too much grind, particularly in a single player only experience, to try to unlock all the cards. Alright, so on the trail, you find a pitiful creature that claims it can help you find Bilbo, but are you sure you can trust this wretched thing? So, yeah, we'll play the starter deck, and we'll hop in here.
After defeating a colony of Mirkwood spiders, you discover that the 8-legged abominations have been gathering slaves for a host of orcs. You believe Bilbo Baggins was taken south alongside other prisoners. Before deciding on your next course of action, you capture an unpleasant creature lurking about your camp. To your surprise, the creature appears to know the name Baggins. The creature already looks beaten and bruised, so you attempt to use kindness to extract information. However, after being fed both food and gentle words, the nasty thing remains thoroughly unhelpful. Before dawn, a more pressing problem arises. As dull grey seeps into the black edges of night, flying dark shapes begin to swoop onto the branches above you. They rapidly multiply, and before long it's as if you've been caught inside a black whirlwind.
I'm really wondering if there would have been any way you could have rewritten the Lord of the Rings story to take the fantasy out, or to put the fantasy in if this was a story that was just going to be a more like down-to-earth narrative. Yeah, I don't really see that. Like, though, if anything, I think that's why Tolkien is so well received, is that he is clearly a very creative writer, or was a very creative writer, who wrote something that felt extremely fresh and new. There's no real cheating or stealing of ideas from other narratives. Not that I can see.
Death, I can save you. I will.
At least.
I am Arwen, Elrond's daughter.
I shall claim full amends for every fall and stopped toe.
Now I have a little pet theory that is very much like a tinfoil hat theory, that a lot of these authors and creatives of these times were either intentionally or unintentionally being exposed to magic mushrooms or other kinds of hallucinogenics. You can hear in Lord of the Rings there's a lot of talk of smoking tobacco, so there's definitely a potential point there you could make some assumptions around too. And I wouldn't say marijuana itself is a good creative drug, and it's kind of hard to say drugs are good in general, but certainly the creator of like the Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers games, they did magic mushrooms for a brief time, they claim, during the time it was legal in Japan. And that's certainly where you get these wild and crazy ideas that seem to come out of nowhere, is that once somebody is high on magic mushrooms in particular, they tend to become extremely creative, or have at least a few extremely creative ideas. Where I would say marijuana doesn't really do that. It makes people relaxed and kind of laid back and sometimes lazy, I would say, for marijuana. Not everybody, but some people who smoke way too much of it get lazy. So, yeah. And I would suggest creatives give it a shot, certainly, if it's legal. But even at that, you have to point out that even if that was the secret to Tolkien's success, nobody else has been able to one-up Tolkien. And so it isn't just the drugs, it's got to also be actual creativity. Okay. Proceeding Smeagol. Stranger little creature claims to know Bilbo's location, but is hesitant to help persuade him. Okay.
For Rivendell!
So you do have this weird situation here where you're effectively just fighting random enemies to give you something to do on top of your
You breathe so loud I could shoot you.
on top of your main goal. Block. Oh, that's gonna suck. Capture 2 random cards from each player's hands. Interesting. Capture, I guess, means you can't use it. Find your bearings to recover every captured card. And it does just kind of boil down to a little bit of nothing. Why did I get 1 fate meter point? Okay. Go ahead and put that on that. Go ahead and put this on that. Go ahead and play this.
You breathe so loud I could shoot you in the dark.
That one had block, so I should have attacked that one.
For Rivendell!
Kindness and forgiveness, masters. The creature gurgles and prostrates before you. Like every time that we see Golem, he seems to be animated by a different animator, though. Masters looking for Baggins. Orcs go to Hill of Haunted Stones. Where slaves, orcs take Baggins to Precious. But Smeagol knows trail in woods, find orcs and Baggins, we can follow Smeagol to find Baggins. Should you follow the trail of the orcs' caravan, or will you trust the strange creature Smeagol? This strange creature Smeagol. So this is Golem, but I guess he's going by the name Smeagol. Maybe both are true names. Maybe Golem is his Tourette's sound he makes, where Smeagol might be his real name. Okay, so set that in defense mode. Set that in defense mode. And then I assume these two will just unlock when we leave. Interesting, you gain looming threats for every creature you don't kill. And realize that that was a part. So follow the caravan and we gain by day and dark, or we trust Smeagol and we gain Smeagol. Which Smeagol here almost looks like a completely different character than Golem, so maybe he is. And see, this time I guess I do need to play this twice, because there is an actual choice, but there clearly is an inconsistency here in these campaigns quests.
You decide trusting Smeagol is worth the risk.
Because we
If the
don't get a
creature knows way
choice
to get ahead of the
every
caravan,
time.
You'll have a significant advantage in rescuing Bilbo from the orcs. As you follow Smeagol through the thick vegetation, the terrain begins to dip. Before long, the air is laced with mist and the soil grows spongy. You're being led into a swamp.
Swampses! Yes! Cool, nice swampses!
Smeagol explains.
With frogs, fishes, and snakes as precious. Tasty.
He pauses to crane his neck and sniff the air.
Smeagol looks to find right spot, masters. Safe way through mist and bogses. Orcses and wagonses must go around, you see. No tasty frogses for orcses.
Smeagol continues to sniff around the area, looking for some landmark, some sign that he's on the right trail. He suddenly smells something unexpected. The thickets begin to rustle. The air begins to hum, and unkind things emerge.
It would be so much nicer if every line of dialogue was voiced, including the pop-up stuff, because the text is just a little too small to read. Honestly, I feel like it's a little bit bigger even on this screen than it is in the game. Follow Smeagol as he finds his way through the marsh. Smeagol must survive. -1 fate if you don't use Smeagol's power. His power is a random effect, can only equip the precious. So you have a unique item here and unique card, and it does kind of tell us at some point we're going to have a unique Ring of Lord of the Rings card, which that's probably the only reason you'd ever play this character, if you can even really play this character. Deal 1 damage to every character. There suddenly goes still, even the ever-present chattering the bird ceases abruptly. You stop peering into the surrounding trees just as arrows fly at you from seemingly all directions. Okay. So that didn't work out very well. Can I give this guy block? So I'm just trying to power up this character as much as possible.
Passes unnoticed.
Put him in defense mode, that makes a lot of sense. And then we still have this guard character, and we just can't really do anything until we take out the character with guard. Clock time. Smeagol must find your path from this place. Apply 1 progress to find your way. So I think I basically have to use all of my power that I can use. It says power random effect, but I wonder if his power makes progress. It says +1 if you don't use his power, so I guess using his power is the right move. I don't know what that really did. Restore 2 to every character. Reduce every character's to 1 power this turn. I think this is worth doing. Yeah, and I just don't think there was anything else I could do here. Of course, it definitely feels like the danger you run into is that next round he'll just summon a bunch of more enemies. Let's see. Okay. Either one that attacks here. Will kill that. So that does leave us with this. And see, I wonder if I just really had to play 3 turns. If that was all there really was to it. Sneak attack.
I always say.
Let's see. Give 1 attack to every character. Before we do that, let's put this character on the field.
My axe swings too.
And probably fine to just play that too. Ah, man. Nope. I made a mistake there. Yeah. Didn't realize I couldn't do both of the actions, so I should have done hurry up. It does seem like these characters all just have higher attack now. Which I think there's something to be said around that. That seems like a smart move. Restore 2 to 1 character on arrival, or save my energy and summon Gandalf.
How may I serve?
This guy has stalwart, so it does make sense to kill him. And I guess what we can do here is this, and then this, and then we're up to 5. It would be kind of crazy to try and do another fate. It feels like each fate you activate should probably give you somewhere between 100 to 250 fellowship points. If there were actual direct actions that gave you fellowship points. But particularly if this was like Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Master, you would almost certainly be getting rewards for how many turns you take, for how many cards you play. Things like that. That way you're directly working towards the overall goal of unlocking all the cards. But since this is a deck building game, you really should unlock all the cards by the time you've done the solo story completely.
You glimpse a tall shape above the fog some distance ahead. Could this be Smeagol's Hill of Haunted Stones?
No, no, precious. Not Cold Hill, not Black Stones, not Smeagol's.
He croaks, bobbing his head at your foolishness.
Haunted Hill, further south. Smeagol, not go there. Oh, oh.
He sniffs around the edges of a nearby pool, adding,
Old tower of tall men, that is. Rotting and broken. Oxes and wagons and baggins rest there tonight.
Without warning, he darts headfirst into the pool with a splash, emerging with a wriggling carp between his teeth. He slithers back to dry land and begins to eat it with glee. Suddenly, the water explodes and a giant serpent rises from the pool, its forked tongue undulating in anticipation. A half-eaten fish is thrown aside in panic.
It's actually a little surprising in the Tolkien-esque world that there aren't, say, skeletons. Nothing like that. No reanimated dead, no zombie-like creatures. It's all very much alive magic. The only thing that seems to come back from the dead is Sauron himself. So remember, we went Golem's way, so there's a real reason to play this a second time. So we also want to evaluate how long this quest is, if there's an argument to play it 2 different ways. Defeat the Marsh Adder, which I guess is this guy. He has block and stalwart. Alright. Draw 2 cards. Reduce 1 minion to 0. This turn. We'll start with that. We'll put this back on defense. Okay. Random effect. Kill a snake. Anything we have here that can do overrun damage is probably worth doing. Reduce card draw by 1 for each player. I think that works perfectly fine for us. Honestly, we're going to just win this turn. So I probably should have put more things in defense mode. The day grows old. See, this text is clearly smaller. And it would be very nice if this was voiced, or if there's at least a button to click to make it voiced. The day grows old as you crawl out of the swamps. Slowly you scale a thorny incline that lies between the bogs below and the base of the tower you glimpsed earlier. You guess it was once a signal tower of old. Its pride now crumbled and foul markings covering its stones. Complete the goal from this location. Okay. So we can go further through this. Remove block from Marshatter. That's not something we really needed to do. Do this. We can go ahead and draw cards. Give that guy block. And then I'm gonna just go ahead and kill this so it doesn't increase our fate. We have yet to really run into a situation where we've actually gotten that close to 50. You pretty much would have to screw up pretty bad for that to happen.
Orange light from orc fires bathe the dilapidated
Although that does
walls of the ruined tower.
limit how long you can actually play any
The
area.
last prisoners, no longer wrapped in cocoons, marched into the stronghold. Orcs and goblins seem to be everywhere. How will you get to Bilbo? And if you do, how will you get away? You decide to chance entering the tower through a small door on the tower's eastern side. As you quietly approach, the door snaps open and a group of armed orcs emerge. The last of them brandishes a large key with which it proceeds to lock the door. As the door locks with a dull clunk, the orcs make to start their patrol.
Yeah, you definitely can't run into a situation in any quest where you go that long, because even if you're having fun, or even if it's an interesting challenge, they've painted themselves in a corner with this looming threat. You need to pickpocket the tower keys or defeat enemies until you take it by force. Okay. Gain stealth to every character until they act, which might be a way to protect the characters, so it's worth considering. Again, Smeagol must survive. Let's go ahead and put that guy in block. We'll prepare if he summons anything new. Activate random effects. Put this guy in defense mode again. Three plus 2 plus 2 plus 1. So you do that one. And then we do
For
that one.
Rivendell!
Do that one.
No man.
I'll put that one in defense mode. You've completed the goal for this location. Travel now to avoid the looming threat. Resolve one hazard. So we just travel, and that time it didn't seem like that
After
added
sneaking through the
anything
tower
to the...
door, you emerge into a huge chamber
To
full
the
of
fate
reeking supplies, fallen stones,
meter.
and intruding vegetation. A number of large chains emerge from openings in the floor along the walls. The chains terminate into an iron box bolted to the far side of the chamber. The box bristles with rusty hooks and mechanical wheels. You glide quietly through the room, keen to avoid attention. You peek into the connecting rooms, hoping for clues as to where the orcs are storing their prisoners. Steps are suddenly heard on the flagstones coming in your direction. After a few moments, a smallish orc enters the chamber to rummage through supplies. The light of its torch happens to catch one of your buckles, causing the orc to glance lazily in your direction. For a second, it seems not to have understood what it's seeing, but then recognition flares in its ugly face.
So another fight. Our final encounter. With Smeagol's help, try to find out what Bilbo was taken. Smeagol must survive. Let's see. Strange mechanism. You wonder what this mechanism does. +1 fate each time you play a card. Or 1 threat. In +1 threat. In summon 1 tower patrol. Revenge -2 threats. And reduce each player's hand to 3. Okay. Apply 1 progress to every player, every hazard, location specific. Okay. So, by the looks of it, grant 2 health to every enemy. There's just no enemies on the field, even. Tower key can resolve 1 thing. Whoops, I wanted to read them again.
Don't stand there slavering. Get your rabble together.
Okay. Let's just do this. And then activate this. I think that fixes that problem. Activate his random ability, which doesn't seem like it does anything. And I guess you can't do strange mechanism at all.
For Rivendell!
Until this is all done.
He cannot stand alone.
Okay, Surge. Restore 1 health to the character. That. And that's just quest complete.
Smeagol has betrayed you. Somehow the villain has triggered the chamber's mechanism, causing one side of the floor to abruptly drop. Your legs slip violently as you flail down the steep angle, fingers desperately grasping for any hold. Amidst the cacophony of sliding rubble, supplies, and orc bodies, you catch sight of Smeagol dangling from one of the chains above.
Goodbye, masters.
He shrieks.
Baggins and precious. For Smeagol, they are mine.
His shrill voice fades as you slide past the lip of the slanted floor and drop into a rancid darkness. You blink twice before meeting the wet ground with a mucky plop, debris raining down around you. Then a falling barrel lands directly on your head, and everything goes black.
So I assume that the story, for the most part, plays exactly the same if we made the other decision. But we'll find out in a second. Let's just see what we get rewarded for doing that. It doesn't really feel like you won there, but that's the way the story goes, I suppose. It seems like that's the way the story would have gone in the book, too, or the books. Another 1,000 fellowship points. Another couple of cards unlocking. So we completed the quest with every hero in play. We completed the quest with Smeagol at full health. We didn't trigger every available location specific fate event, which feels like a lot of work for 200 points. We didn't use Strike Fear to defeat 4 orc units, and we didn't spend no more than 20 energy for resources for each player, which that you would just have to keep a running count of that, I suppose. Then we get another 1,500 points for first time Hall of Heroes. Now, because I am definitely leaning more towards not unlocking everything at this point, I am admitting that unless I were to really grind this out, I won't be unlocking cards. Unless cards are always unlocked in the first victory. Which I don't know if that's really the case either. Okay. So we'll choose the Explorer's deck this time.
After
We'll hop in
defeating a
here.
colony,
And we'll just try and rush through this a second time.
At your service.
Otherwise,
to declare yourselves and your errand.
yeah, I wouldn't be playing at all normally. Ready after defeating an enemy. I'll keep that one. Guard. We'll get rid of that. I don't think we have any full objectives this time. So, yeah. Explorer's deck, probably not so much a battle deck. This one has counter and gains protect after triggering. So it probably doesn't really need self-preservation. Range Vanquish, draw a card.
So be it.
Causes me to draw a card. One character stealth, self-preservation. Ready after defeating or resolving an objective.
My lord Galadriel.
So we don't want self-preservation on this. We'll go ahead and put it on this. Do we really want another guard card? We can't do anything anyways. So, hit that. What it feels like should be the case is, well, that's a terrible card, is that there should be decision points as far as location-specific fate items. And I just don't know if really there is. So, something like that in every quest. These guys, once again, locked my cards up. Two, 4,
So
and
be
one.
it.
And at this first quest, it's not actually having you do anything, so. Put that in defense mode. Put that in defense mode. Put that back in defense mode.
They went this way.
Put that, I guess, in stealth mode.
Nothing passes unnoticed.
We're getting just like one thing every time. I don't think we want to replace any of these guys' abilities, so you have to kind of put it here. Hit that, kill that. The latest achievement, by the way, that we've unlocked is now approaching just slightly over 15% of players. So it really goes to highlight that there's not a lot of people that have even made it this far as how much time I've put into the single player content. And the latest achievement I got was completing 10 quests. Which, in all fairness, I guess if you'd only done the quest once, then that would have helped to not. Well, I mean, it still doesn't really matter that much. Whether you do the quest once or twice, you still should have done 10 before giving up on this game. So this time we're going to follow the caravan and see if the story changes any.
You have neither time nor inclination to follow the strange Smeagol creature. Rather, by day or dark, you'll chase down the orc caravan to free its captives, especially Bilbo. You gather your packs and set off. Smeagol watches you go. His ghoulish eyes glow dull yellow. After a few moments, he slinks away into the trees, muttering to himself. You wonder whether you'll see the wretch again. You hope not. The caravan is easily tracked, and you make good time. Even so, the day is mostly spent before you hear the faint noise of rolling wheels ahead. Exultant to have reached your quarry, you hasten your steps, hoping to surprise and overwhelm the caravan's rear guard. In the excitement, you forget to consider the keen noses and sharp ears of goblins. As you round a copse of dead trees, you suddenly find yourself facing a group of enemies, alert and weapons ready. So much for surprise.
So it seems by not sneaking around, you're just going for a bigger fight. Stronger enemies. But at the end of the day, I think we're going to probably still end up in the same place. -2 to every enemy, minimum 0 location specific. We could get the high ground. Don't even know if we really need that. Deal 1 damage to every character. Guard. Get another guard character. Plus 3 resources. Plus 1 this round versus objectives at full. So it seems like if you're going to play this, you'd want this at full already. Grant extra abilities. We don't need to play that for sure. I think your best bet probably is to guess we could use that ability. These are ranged attack people. Are these ranged? Just this guard one, too.
I see them.
That didn't work out well. It won 7. But -1 attack, +1 attack every time an orc is defeated. Okay. Ranged vanquish.
So be it.
Okay. I think I generally understand what we're supposed to do here. Just kill this guy before anything else happens. Okay. Go ahead and play this barge character. Just play this. Play this.
None shall enter.
And I guess you just play this.
Key.
Hit that. Hit that. 2 orcs defeated. 1 orc defeated. Draw some more cards. Yeah, and it just doesn't even feel like it's going to be necessary to go for anything here. Seems like I could probably do everything. And see, here's that strike fear. So if I'd wounded everything and then gotten enough points, I could have probably gone that route. But you would need 4 characters and yeah. Just put this in defense mode. Okay. I do like the idea, however, of using this power. Grant, I guess, some extra power to this guy. So then I could do this. exhausting every wounded character. Oops. And then we'll just heal a bunch of characters for free. And then this is just going to come down to who do we want to put in a defense mode. Probably put this in defense mode. We need to actually defeat orcs, not birds.
For the master.
And yeah, just one there. And see, if I play this, does that carry over to the next turn? Or if I play this, would that carry over to the next turn? Yeah, if I'm gonna do Favor of the Lady, I basically have to do it to yet another character. And we're dangerously close to having 7 characters with 7 equip cards on it.
The sound of horns and iron-shod feet clangor in the evening air. In the distance, you see torchlights flicker into life on the walls of what looks to be an old tower. Cursing your own carelessness, you dash into the thickets, orc horns blaring close behind. A fallen tree lying against mossy boulders must serve as a hiding place. You glimpse torchlit shapes of many enemies moving through the trees. By luck or fate, none come closer than 100 feet of you. After some time, the horns stop braying, and scattered groups of orcs return sullenly through the forest. Just as you begin to feel the danger has passed, you hear nearby rustling and the sound of voices. You recognize the grating speech of the enemy, and another voice. A whining, pitiful one you'd hoped never to hear again. Smeagol must have followed you, and has been captured by orcs. Loathsome as the creature may be, something tells you not to stand idly by while Smeagol is dragged towards certain death.
So we're ending up still dealing with Smeagol. Honestly, it feels like the interface should probably be a little bit different when you have a split in choices. That should probably be where the quest ends and then 2 new quests should unlock as just like alternate realities. Because I could see definitely wanting to do both quests without having to redo the first part of the first round to get to the decision point. Save Smeagol, then try to hide. Smeagol must survive. Okay. Exhaust up to 2 orcs. Okay. So, for the most part, I guess you put that in defense mode. This one's probably not terrible to put in defense mode either. Cancel damage from the next enemy attack. This guy should probably just attack here. His power. Bring that up to 4. Throw this out. Nope, can't. Do that. We're gonna have to get rid of this character anyways. So there goes that guy. Nice masters, they find Smeagol and save him from the nasty fat orcs. We must hide, masters. More will be coming. We must... Yes, many more golem. Into the shadows we must go. Okay. So into the shadows now is our goal. Which I guess you do this. And then we'll do that random effect. It seems to do nothing. And I'll have to kill this. Let's ready this again. And kill that. And since everything just heals, we're in a particularly great position. You don't really have to do much of anything, just do that. And then just use powers. Okay. So then we dip into there.
Leg it double quick.
Exhaust the next one. And see, I'm just setting things up for the next round. Prudence tells you to bring Smeagol along with you. Should you be caught by the orcs once again, you fear the enemy would come to know one of its prisoners to be a person of no small significance. Having twice escaped pursuit, you approach the ruined structure cautiously to study the disposition of your foe. Again, this text is just too small. I can't actually read if the text is bigger. The decayed ruin seems to have been a signal tower of old and now serving as a haunt of evil things. So you get different texts, but storyline wise we're still ending up in the castle or the tower. So, alright. All we can do is travel. I should have used this ability and I didn't.
As darkness thickens, orange light from orc fires bathe the dilapidated walls of the ruined tower. Your spirits sink as you witness the last prisoners, no longer wrapped in cocoons, marched into the stronghold. Orcs and goblins seem to be everywhere. How will you get to Bilbo? And if you do, how will you get away? You decide to chance entering the tower through a small door on the tower's eastern side. As you quietly approach, the door snaps open and a group of armed orcs emerge. The last of them brandishes a large key with which it proceeds to lock the door. As the door locks with a dull clunk, the orcs make to start their patrol.
So it seems to me like you end up fighting more. You get one more round potentially if you don't go with Smeagol. And if you do... Alright, this is going to suck. Or at least it could suck. Although at a certain level, it doesn't really have to suck. Okay. Plus one round this for versus objectives to the full. Let's see if this works.
I ride for Gale.
Apply to progress.
I bring news from
What do we want to do? That, I guess, works. It's a free move. And then we can put that as a defense. So we can just attack there with that one. Then we can attack with that. It gives us the key. We can just run away. Yes, use this random ability. It seems to give Sauron energy. Put this in defense mode. Can't do anything else, travel.
After sneaking through the tower door, you emerge into a huge chamber full of reeking supplies, fallen stones, and intruding vegetation. A number of large chains emerge from openings in the floor along the walls. The chains terminate into an iron box bolted to the far side of the chamber. The box bristles.
Yeah, I don't know why we're really listening to this. It's the same thing.
You glide quietly through the room, keen to avoid attention. You peek into the connecting rooms, hoping for clues as to where the orcs are storing their prisoners. Steps are suddenly heard on the flagstones coming in your direction. After a few moments, a smallish orc enters the chamber to rummage through supplies. The light of its torch happens to catch one of your buckles, causing the orc to glance lazily in your direction. For a second, it seems not to have understood what it's seeing, but then recognition flares in its ugly face.
Exact same dialogue. And this really is just way too slow to play even twice, even with a branching storyline. It's just too slow. Play one progress per player to every hazard location. Okay, I think we can do that fairly easily this time. So I'm just going to do this and then activate this. Okay. And then I guess we do that. That should, one of these should ready new character. Although I had that exhaustion, so I should have done this. But whatever.
We stand together.
Just doesn't matter. We could put this on the
You
field.
need not worry about anything.
And that's just the quest complete.
Smeagol has betrayed you.
That's the
Somehow
exact
villain
same
has triggered the
dialogue
chamber's
again.
mechanism, causing one side of the floor to abruptly drop. Your legs slip violently as you flail down the steep angle, fingers desperately grasping for any hold. Amidst the cacophony of sliding rubble, supplies, and orc bodies, you catch sight of Smeagol dangling from one of the chains above.
Goodbye, says masters.
He shrieks.
Baggins and precious. For Smeagol, they are mine.
His shrill voice fades as you slide past the lip of the slanted floor and drop into a rancid darkness. You blink twice before meeting the wet ground with a mucky plop, debris raining down around you. Then a falling barrel lands directly on your head, and everything goes black.
Yeah, just way too long. Way too long to potentially play this twice. Even if I was just playing it off screen for my own entertainment, like it's way too long, and there's no real way to speed it up. So we get another 1,000 fellowship points. We get an avatar this time instead of a card. And we get another 400 fellowship points. And another 1,500 points. The deck selection aspect of this game also, I think, has something to be desired. It seems like pretty much any deck can win. So the trick of just making sure you have different heroes in between your 6 or 7 decks that you would build and play really is all you need to do. So yeah, definitely I'm not going to play that a third time. We still don't know what the reward here is for that. And next we have to do this. Then I assume this is locked until we are done with the previous chapter. So yeah, this is taking quite a bit of time. And then the whole storefront customization aspect still does not make any sense at all. We are slowly unlocking maybe 1 card per quest at most, which doesn't really lean towards the idea that we'll unlock this card for 50,000 fellowship points through doing any of the quests. That being said, if there's 2,000 for each of these kinds of cards, let's just count how many of these we have. And then we'll multiply by 2,002 plus another 4 would be 6, 10, 13, 16, 19, 22, plus another 5, 27, plus another 3, which would be 30. So 33 when we get to 10, 35 when we get to this point, 11, page 11. So let's just double that and assume that there are 70 cards in total to unlock. And let's assume that they are 1,000 for each card and you want 2 copies of each card. So 70 times 2,000 would be what? 140,000? No, it would be 1,400,000 fellowship points That seems like an unreasonably large amount of points. Yeah. And that definitely would just come down to, I imagine, whether or not you could play this multiplayer and whether there was just a thriving community, which clearly there isn't. We're at page 23 with 3 spots being shown, which seems like that's what it was before. So I don't think we've unlocked any new cards. So yeah, 140,000 fellowship points plus massive amounts of avatars for another 1,000 points. Like, I wouldn't even begin to guess, but let's just say each of these pages is 8 figures. So 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64. Yeah. Let's roughly guess that in total there's 64. We have some unlocked, so let's round that down to 50. That's another 50,000 points just to unlock frames. Avatars. Frames themselves cost 1,000, and on that it seems like there's only 4 of them, so that's not too crazy, but it does kind of highlight that there was no reason to really have a storefront with the frames when you could have just had a customization where the frames were unlocked by default. We know that there's really only about 10,000 for the emotes, but there's no reason to buy emotes because there's no multiplayer, really. Nobody to play multiplayer with. Then we know of the ones we can buy here, there's 1,000, so I can buy each of these card backs fairly easily, and that would only be about 5,000 points. And then, yeah, there's no more Sauron card backs to buy at all. So there is basically an argument to buying that, except for that one's 10,000, that one's 10,000, and that one's 10,000. This one is only 1,000, and this one's 10,000. So this is what you would expect more of, is you would expect to see the price in the storefront, and you would expect there to be things that are really worth 1,000 fellowship points available to purchase. Noticeably, there are no sales or any heavy push to actually purchase things in the in-game store with the in-game currency, which is nice and all, but it just kind of highlights that the whole idea is flawed. We've gone, I guess, kind of long because we went through the quest twice. I was trying to save some time and only go through the quest once. Next time we'll do this quest. That's going to be it for this recording, though. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to support me further, there's a link down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.